Hello everyone, Dalek Bumps here. Please excuse my voice in this video. I'm not feeling very well, as you can probably tell, but that's not going to stop me from talking about this topic. If you saw the behind the scenes short attached to the 2023 Children in Need special Destination Skaro, you may have noticed Russell T Davies made some interesting comments about the character of Davros related to his appearance in the Children in Need short and, potentially, his appearance in future Doctor Who stories. And if you didn't see this in the behind the scenes short, chances are you've seen it being discussed elsewhere in some capacity, as this news has proven to be quite the talking point in the Doctor Who fandom right now. A lot of people are talking about this, and there seems to be a lot of polarised opinions and comments being addressed without proper discussion of the context. Essentially, what Russell T Davies says in this short is that, particularly for an episode aired as part of Children in Need, and in the modern lens of 2023, the character of Davros, who has been traditionally depicted as a wheelchair user who is evil, should be depicted differently in defiance of the historic association of villainous characters and disabilities, and to also show sensitivity of the conversations that are at the forefront of discussion on a night like Children in Need, a point that illustrates the depth and intensity of discussions related to key elements of Doctor Who that are going on right now among the production team for the upcoming seasons. Regardless of how people may feel about this change, the fact remains that there are many ways in which this shift in presentation of the character of Davros can be explained in-universe. A point that came up often in the comments on my community rating of Destination Skaro was the fact that pre-accident Davros being shown in this short, designing the Mark III travel machine, contradicts previously established stories, most notably the Big Finish audio stories Davros and I, Davros, which depict events in which Davros is injured and then later goes on to design the Daleks, partially inspired by the design of his own life support chair. However, Big Finish themselves have taken a fast and loose approach to canon in the past, particularly in relation to the Daleks. War Master Anti-Genesis shows that the events of the Daleks' genesis were entirely rewritten at least once during the Time War, and other audios such as Planet of the Ogrons from the 8th Doctor Time War 2 box set illustrate just how much the Time War changed about the history of the universe. Also, don't forget Big Bang 2 from Series 5 of New Who, in which the universe was entirely reset from scratch. Essentially, when it comes to lore or canon discrepancies between Classic Who and New Who, the combination of the Time War and Big Bang 2 is a foolproof catch-all explanation. But what about later appearances of Davros? Russell's comments seem to imply that these discussions and changes related to Davros aren't contained to just the Children in Need short. To that I say, any future appearance of Davros in which he appears without his facial scarring or wheelchair can be explained by one very convenient and handy point: the Doctor's regeneration energy. Chronologically speaking, the last time we saw Davros was in Series 9's The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar, in which he steals and absorbs a huge amount of the Doctor's regeneration energy. This could easily be used to explain how his injuries are reversed in any potential future appearance in which that is the case. Even if it isn't directly stated in the episode, I guarantee that if this turns out to be the case, the Series 9 two-parter is what fans will put forward to explain the change to Davros. Indeed, the fact that Davros has eyes in the Series 9 two-parter, when Big Finish's audios strongly imply that he doesn't, already points to the possibility that Davros' personal history or origin has been meddled with in some capacity at some point before or during the Time War. There are plenty of other theories related to this discrepancy, but that's a topic for another video. The key thing to remember here is that, as far as the TV show is concerned, the details regarding Davros' early life and the circumstances surrounding his accident have not been elaborated on much, and while the Big Finish audios Davros and I, Davros are fantastic stories that all Davros fans should experience, the fact that they take place in the pre-Time War era, and the fact that the company that makes them have introduced their own changes to the canon, implies that the version of Davros' backstory told to us in these audio stories will not necessarily correlate to the timeline of the Davros we see in later New Who. Just listen to Palindrome if you don't believe me. According to Big Finish, there's a very good chance that the Davros from New Who and the Davros from Classic Who are technically not even the same individual. Rather, the former was created from various alternate versions of the latter from other timelines during a point in the Time War when the Daleks temporarily didn't exist and had to be restored to the universe by the Dalek time strategist. So whichever way you look at it, these changes to Davros aren't as headache-inducing as some vocal wings of the fandom seem to think they are, as ironically the company that created the Davros backstory lore that is now being contradicted, Big Finish, is the same company that subsequently created different lore suggesting that any changes made to Davros in New Who have no impact on their backstory for classic Davros from the audios. Add to that the fact that the very creation of Davros in the first place threw out a decade of lore from the early Dalek comics comics, which had its own origin story set on Skaro involving Daleks evolving from purple aliens called Dals, and this debate quickly comes into perspective. It's a storm in a teacup. And if you're still not convinced, look at the bright side. The fact that this discussion has been had behind the scenes of the production of the next era of Doctor Who proves that there are talks going on right now about the future of high-profile classic characters and villains from Doctor Who's past. Yeah, we might not see Davros's iconic wheelchair again for a while, but there's a fair chance we'll see Davros himself, and the fact that the production team are talking about these characters and formulating ideas around them that break from tradition is a really good sign. Remember when Chibnall brought back the Master, and you had people complaining that his version of the character was too in line with the Master's original evil ways, which appeared to ignore the development that the character had through Missy? And if you boil it down, that complaint essentially translates as, it is bad that the showrunner didn't factor in the events of previous episodes when writing for a classic character. Well, now we have almost the complete opposite happening, and yet there are still big complaints. If Davros shows up healed with legs in a future Doctor Who episode, it will mark a rare time in which Davros's condition in an episode is directly influenced by the narrative events of a previous episode. We haven't really seen that since Series 4 proved that Davros's hand was still destroyed after Bostock shot it off in Revelation of the Daleks. And now it seems when we next see Davros, he'll be healed after taking in the Doctor's regeneration energy which we saw in Series 9. Either that or the Daleks have rejuvenated his physical form, granting him even more power over the cosmos. Whatever the excuse, trust me, big changes like this can happen to classic characters and the show will go on. I find it amusing that so many people firmly believe that Doctor Who has a consistent and cohesive canon that has survived throughout its 60 years of stories, and yet simultaneously insist that this canon is a flimsy, fragile thing that will shatter beyond repair at even the smallest whisper of change. Doctor Who has survived for so long because of change, not in spite of it. Change opens new doors for storytelling after all.
Things used to be black and white, they're not in black and white anymore, and Davros used to look like that, and he looks like this now. And that we are absolutely standing by. I think because it's Children in Need night, it's a night where issues of disability or otherness or being excluded from society come right to the front of the conversation. So of all the nights to make this change, I think it was absolutely vital to do this, and I'm very, very, very proud of the fact that we have.
Don't forget to click below to subscribe to
Dalek Bumps.